Welcome to another episode of the Weeb Retreat Podcast. We hope you enjoy your stay. We are the Weebs. My name is James. This is Germs, and today we have a lot to talk about. How you doing, Germs?
Doing pretty good. Season's been nice and going.
Yep. We're at the beginning of the spring season, 2021. All right, so we're going to begin our weekly roundup. What did you think of Boku No Hero, season 5, episode 2?
I'm feeling pretty good. This is kind of what this is really the first episode of the series here. We got a lot of little things going on, especially compared to that first episode. That was just forgettable. But this has a lot of things going on. You know, a lot of characters and stuff like that. So, what do you think about it? Without me going too much about it.
Yeah, that last scene at the end there. That's what they put in the teaser for this season. I feel like that should open up the season. Forget the first episode. Forget all the filler bullshit, right? Like, that scene alone hooked me so well. Like, that should have been the opener for the season. If that was the opener for season 5, I would have been a lot more hyped, to be honest with you. What'd you think of that scene? Like, that one kind of stole the show, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, definitely. Especially since, just like his whole room was destroyed after that. So,
yeah.
Something's big coming.
Yeah, and we got some backstory with Todoroki and his little family troubles. I can't believe they put that. I just can't. I don't understand why they're putting these scenes in front of that big one at the end there. Like that one is way more important. It has all the previous All for One users. Yeah, I don't know. Am I crazy in thinking that?
Yeah, you're not crazy to think about it. It's just mostly, and unfortunately, the series really likes to focus on the Endeavor family and all that stuff. As you'll see later on, it's just it feels like to me that like Midoriya's like on the back end of the series, to the creator. It's like, and there's all this cool stuff about Endeavor. We'll show the whole episode and all that stuff, and then here's Midoriya. What's Midoriya's doing? That's the only thing I'm not too much of a fan that's been going on recently with this series, but other than that, the stuff is good. It's not like it's a bad stuff we're getting with Endeavor family and everything. It's just our main character, quote unquote, is shafted all the way to the end when a sick ass scene, shows up.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's just out of left field. Like we're watching seasonally. We're watching every year. I'm an anime only, so like when that stuff comes on, it's like. Like, I forgot about their backstory. Like, it's just I need a warm up to that. Don't hit me with that. Like, hit me with Midoriya's important scene. Also, it's One for All. I think I might have said All for One earlier, but yeah. And then the first scene, we get a little bit more with Hawks. Is Hawks, without going into spoilers, is Hawks going to be a main player, like a very really important character for this season?
Yeah. I love his character. It's fantastic.
Yeah, they're really building him up. They really built him up last season, and it seems like he's going to be more of a important player this season. And then the new number one hero now, Endeavor. So we're getting a lot more of him, which is cool. Like I like that they made the transition from All Might to Endeavor, and they're like sticking with it. You know what I mean? Like I appreciate that. Like I like that he's sticking to his guns, and it's not like a fake out there where. All Might comes back or something. Like Endeavor really is the number one hero now, and that's kind of what the season is establishing. It looks like,
and I think it's really interesting how they don't really focus on like what he actually does as number one hero. It goes more to like at home and like his public receptions. Like he's trying to be a dad after so long of neglecting and as you saw with his other son. It shows more into his personal life and dealing with becoming the number one hero and how everyone looks at him.
Yeah, and I like that. I like that a lot. So yeah, this was like the real first episode, huh? Like I would have this would have been such a better first episode in my opinion. But that's all I really have to say about it. I mean, it was a good opener. I wish that they started with the Midoriya stuff first. It's really intriguing, and that's what the teaser and the trailer had. But solid episode.
Yeah, solid episode. Like just a couple little twists there. With Hawks and working with the League of Villains, and then right at the end, that cliffhanger of what happened to Midoriya. So yeah, it got some nice setup for what's going to be happening next.
and I hate this is such a nitpick. Like this is so it doesn't really matter. But if they revealed Hawks working with the League of Legends at the end, again, I just feel like that would have been a better cliffhanger, to be honest with you. But it is what it is. It's a solid episode. This is kind of the real introduction into the season. So yeah, solid. I'm still hyped for the season, but let's talk about something I think I'm a little bit more hyped for, Germs. Shaman King 2021, the reboot, episode 1. What'd you think, man?
I don't know. It's a really weird feeling watching it. It kind of felt like a throwback in time, to another time of just like super crazy character designs and like the feel of it. Like the MC is just super chill. Like don't even really. He's just quiet and all that kind of stuff. So it's really weird seeing, and especially since it didn't really focus on the main character. Well, I would assume is the main character for a lot of the episode. So it was really weird, really weird. Kind of like a throwback. Like I like felt like I'm young again.
Yeah. Did you see like Shaman King episodes as a kid? Like, are you familiar with it? No, not at all. Yeah,
not at all.
See, I'm not familiar with it at all, but it did give me a little like it. You can tell it's a little older series. I mean, the first series came out in 2001, and you have to assume the manga was probably coming out in the 90s. So. This reboot's taking place 20 years later. The manga, let's say 20 plus years, you know what I mean? So since this was written and published, so yeah, it's getting the Brotherhood treatment, and I'm really happy for it. What'd you think of the OP, by the way?
I thought it was okay. I showed a lot of characters I'd obviously never seen before, but pretty normal OP to me.
Character dump, man. They showed so many characters in that OP. I think I'm more hyped for this one than you, Germs. Honestly, I thought it was a solid introduction into the world. They kind of explained shamans. We had the very first scene, which kind of sets up the twin rivalry, I guess you could call it. I think Ami Damaru, the samurai, is like a total badass. I can't wait to see, because they showed a little bit of his past 600 years ago. So I want to see what, more of what he was like 600 years ago as a samurai. I think the Monosuke, I think is how you say it, the reuniting with the swordsmith. I thought that was cool.
Oh yeah,
I didn't know how they were gonna like work that into the story, but then we saw Yo kind of take his spirit in. I guess we're new to the series, but. And so, I guess he becomes a shaman with that spirit, and, he was able to pass on because of, he had some feelings left over and he finally got them resolved. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Like I think that kind of stuff is really, set up really quick is, there was no filler in that at all. That kind of story. They didn't say extra information they didn't need to. They just went right into the good stuff and just, concluded the whole story beginning to end in that episode as well.
Yeah, they got right into it. No BS. The fight scene was again, this is just nitpick. I'm just nitpicking today, but the fight scene was very lackluster, but that's okay. It's just the first episode. Maybe they're saving some of his power and what he can really do for later on, but I thought it was solid. I'm hyped, man. I really am. I think we're going to talk about this in the news later, but it looks like this might be a long-running show, which no complaints from me, as a newcomer into the series, and I'm just hyped that I'm watching a shonen that is a big one that I just never experienced as a kid.
Yeah, I just have seeing the episode, there's a few questions that are obviously going to be answered, like what the Shaman King really is, like is it you're just the most powerful, you're number one, or obviously we'll be told that pretty soon, I would imagine. And the only problem, quote unquote, I had with this show is the 2-foot midget of our stand-in character. And also the character designs in general are really all over the place. The style, it's like some characters are when he goes to school, totally normal looking humans, And then you have like the 2 foot stand-in character that's literally like just 2 feet, and no one even bats an eye or anything. And
Yeah.
like the reaction faces that he has, like they just stay on those like huge reaction faces for so long. It was like a little weird. Like that's the only character I have a little bit of problem with at the moment. It's just like he's so jarring compared to all the other characters. Just being, I'm not just assuming 2 feet or something like that. And just I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the only problem I currently have with the show is just that one character, and it seems like it's our stand-in for the viewer. It's like, oh, what's a shaman,
Maybe it's just in episode one thing, and he's just like a supporting character. We don't know, but yeah, the character designs are interesting. Here's a question: assuming that this is a faithful adaptation and they look like that in the manga, would you have preferred they change how they look and make them a little bit more modern and consistent, or would you prefer that they keep his style and how different he looks from like the rest of them?
That is a good question. It just
That's a
feels
good question, right?
because it'd obviously be nice, like the Yo has like a totally normal, like, just a short kind of kid design. It's like, okay, it looks totally normal. And then just seeing how crazy this other character looks right next to him is just a little jarring for me. Throwing me out a little bit.
Yeah.
But maybe he doesn't show up too often, so maybe it won't be a problem at all. It seems like all the other, like at the end with that other shaman, I would assume, looks like a totally normal, like totally weird hair designs and stuff, but like at least body proportion wise isn't totally out there. I think I just had a little bit more problem with the body proportion size than the actual design. So maybe if they just made him a little bit more normal, maybe just made him just a short person, not like a super short person. I don't know, it's a little weird, but that's just a nitpick from me.
You bring up two interesting points that I want to touch on here. First is the proportion size. So when the YouTube trailer came out for this Netflix anime, everyone was talking about a shot with Yo. We haven't seen it yet. Maybe it'll be in the second episode. And everyone was bagging on how his head is like disproportionate to his body. Like here's his body and like here's his head. Like it was way too big, right? And it kind of gives it that, younger cartoony look, right? So yeah, I could see how that's going to be, because we want it to look as
consistent.
And realistic isn't the right word because it's anime, but we want it to look like a mature, developed story, right? We don't want it to look like it's made for kids, right? Like we want the reboot to be like action packed and speak to a more mature audience, and I guess more mature designs would help that. And also, you brought up the hair designs, dude. So this is the original was a 2000s anime, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what this gave me vibes of? Gave me vibes of Yu-Gi-Oh, dude.
Like, oh yeah,
like the pharaoh in Yu-Gi, and how he kind of they're one, right? So like Yugi will talk, but like you'll have the picture of like the pharaoh talking as well, and like sometimes they'll have both their voices talking, like saying the same thing, like in unison. Kind of gave me that vibe because they both older anime from the 2000s. Like I was like, oh man, I can totally see how this came out in like the Yu-Gi-Oh era. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah, they have totally out there hairstyles. And there'll probably be way more as the series goes on.
Probably. Yeah, I'm digging it though, and I want to learn more about Amidamaru's past, and I want to see some wars he's been in and stuff. So I want to know like the power system too, right? So like they're shamans and they're possessing these spirits, right? Like, but it seemed like Yo was mimicking the moves of Amidamaru. Like, is there ever going to be a point? Because I always thought it was like JoJo stands where like Amidamaru comes out and like fights for him. That's what I always thought it was like. So like, do the spirits come out and fight each other, or does the characters mimic the spirits' movements? Like, I'm kind of curious about that. So
yeah, it's a good question. I wonder that question as well, because if you have two shamans fighting, it was Yo fighting a human. So if he was fighting another shaman, would their stands just fight and they would just sit there like Pokemon, or?
That's what I thought. That's what I thought it would be. But I like JoJo stands, like literally like JoJo stands, and that's what I always got the impression of. But in this episode, it seemed like Yo was mimicking the moves of the samurai. So I don't know if they're going to mimic the moves and like be like one with them, or if the actual spirits are going to just clash against each other, which I would probably prefer, to be honest with you, but I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah, maybe they go into that Unity mode if they need a little bit more power or something like that, or maybe they'll probably explain in the next episode or so. When we see two shamans going against each other. So
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said with this episode, I think they really held back on the action a little bit to, when shit really goes down, it's like, it hits a little bit more. This was kind of, I don't want to say disappointing with the action, but it was the first episode. It was kind
first
of
episode.
You know what I mean? Like he just beat up a bunch of thugs, and that was kind of it. So, yeah. Final thoughts. I'm hyped about this. Maybe a little bit more hyped than you, Germs. I'm surprised, but I think this is a good start. Good start. No complaints from me.
Yeah, I'm going to obviously continue watching it, and just hopefully that they don't focus on that shorter character. I forgot what his name is, but it's mostly just that characters that's been throwing me off on really loving the series. Everything else, Yo seems pretty cool. Amidaru seems pretty cool. So it's just hopefully they focus on them instead of the random other side character.
I think you're crazy for not liking the opening. By the way, I thought the opening was fire. Watch as more weeks stack on and we watch that opening over and over again, it's going to be like the Attack on Titan one. Like it's going to grow on you. So that's what I'm predicting. So, all right, so let's move on. So that's going to be the weekly roundup. We only have 2 to get through this week. Next week we should have all 6 done, right? So we have these 2. We also have Don't Tease Me Nagatoro-san, The Way of the House Husband, yikes, Megalobox, and Tokyo Revengers, which will also be added to the weekly roundup, giving us a total of 6. So, yeah, season's just getting started. So all we have are these 2 shows so far, but stay tuned. We'll be talking about more of your favorites. So time for the weekly discussion. So this weekly discussion, I think, is very apropos as we are a new podcast, right? And so I think one of the big questions we have is how do we expand this hobby and this passion that we have, right? And I think gateway is the right term. Like there's gateway anime out there that really bring people in, right? So like in the 90s, it was like DBZ and Sailor Moon and Pokemon. Then maybe in the 2000s, it was Naruto and, maybe the big 3 or something like that. So I wanted to talk to you today about what's a good beginner anime. And so let's just define it first. What would constitute as a good beginner's anime?
Well, for me, if you aren't much of a fan of it, watching anime, you're only watching 1 or 2 shows.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Let me preface this. Someone who's never seen it before, they might have heard of it. They might have caught something on TV. Maybe they've seen some memes or something, but you're showing a friend, hey, let me get you into this stuff. It's really cool. Like a total newbie, someone who has not seen anything.
Yeah, I think definitely like it's got to hit you right from the beginning. Episode 1 at the bare minimum. You don't want it to be like, oh, it's gonna be a good episode. 3 or 4, or something like that. You really want to hook them right from the beginning. And then, obviously, you probably want it to make a little bit more shorter of a series, maybe 12 episodes or a movie or something like that.
Wait, what? You're telling me you wouldn't recommend One Piece? What are you talking about here, Germs?
Yeah, just something like, there's like 12 episodes, like they'll be done within they can run through it all in a night. Like, next time we see them, just right there. Like that's happened tons of times with me and other friends. Just like, I show them one show, and then next night when I see them in class or whatever, they're like, yo, I just binged through the whole show. Because I feel like it's way easier to see like, 12 episodes? Okay, I can binge that real quick. Or if they're already like a few episodes in, they're like, I'm already a few episodes in, might as well just finish it up, Or if it's just a movie, a movie's just an hour and a half, 2 hours at most, and you're just, bam, done. You can maybe go another movie or something like that.
Yeah, I think the movie, I'm glad that you bring up movies. I think that's a good... It's all about investment, right? You don't want to hit someone with One Piece and be like, yeah, so you got 1,000 episodes to watch, and if not, you got 1,000 chapters to read at this point. Like, you don't want to overwhelm someone. So I think a movie is good. 12 episodes, like you're saying, is good. I think also nothing too out. So for this fan that we're talking about, this friend, we're going to talk about like, a Western audience, obviously, right? So because in Japan, it's not anime to them. Like, it's just normal, TV, like cartoon animation over there, right? So we're talking about over here in the West, someone who is used to maybe cartoons or maybe just live action stuff that they watch, HBO shows or whatever. So, I think we have to err on the side of mainstream as opposed to erring on the side of avant-garde or, something that might be difficult for them to explain, right? Nothing too tropey, right?
No kill a kill.
Nothing too like nothing that it's like such a I want to say culture shock. Yeah, nothing too jarring, nothing that's like, whoa, what is this weird stuff I'm watching, right? Like something that will ease them into the hobby, right? Would you agree?
Yeah. Yeah, I was super agree. So like nothing like crazy like Kill a Kill or like a Super Moe show,
Exactly.
Some of those shows are really good, but to someone that's totally brand new, they'd be like, what?
Yeah, I think, because anime does have a stigma already, right? Like some people think it's just hentai, some people think it's only for little kids. Like I think this is just a personal thing. You might disagree with this and my list might reflect this, but I think showing them a more mature side, like showing them that, hey, like these stories can also be really good, right? Like just because they're drawn and animated, like these shows can touch on some pretty deep topics, but still be entertaining and fun. And you know what I mean? Just like a normal show that you'd watch on TV, right?
Yeah.
So we are going to go over 5 of our personal recommendations for beginner anime, so anime that will get a total newbie into the hobby. So why don't you begin, Germs? What is your first recommendation for a new beginner of anime?
Yeah, this first choice is a movie that I've shown tons and tons of people over and over again. Even totally non-anime fans, because I just
can I guess it? I think I can guess it. Can I guess it?
I think you can easily guess it.
Can I guess it?
Yep.
Redline?
Yep, that is my number one, the first recommendation here.
Got it.
Oh yeah, like I just super love Redline, even though I've seen it 10 plus times, and every time it kind of like brings me back. Every time the graphics are absolutely insane just from the beginning all the way to the end. And like the beginning totally is gonna, I can easily see if you don't like the beginning, then you're probably not gonna like the rest. That's good to know. If you watch the first episode or something, like, okay, that's basically what's gonna happen here. They can go in, go out, like, okay, I like what's going on here, and here's more of it. And then that beginning race scene is just so beautifully animated, and you can see the 7 years of work on it they put. So
they put 7 years of work on that movie.
Yeah, in the movie, yeah, it's super.
I didn't know that.
I think it was one of the last hand-drawn, non-digital movies to be done, because it's really? Just so much detail.
I didn't know that. Sick.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
I would super recommend Redline. It's about racing and like space and all that kind of stuff like that. It has a little bit more of a mature story. Not nothing too crazy, but it's just a lot of not like super like wacky, but like in like the cool, like, oh yeah, we're going to go race on the moon, all this kind of stuff. And just the character designs and the characters are just, they work so well with one another, and the style that it has is just like, ooh, okay, that's cool. So yeah, I would super recommend Redline. I don't want to spoil too much about it since it's only a movie.
Yeah, we're going to keep the spoiler free, but I think, it has the action. It'll appeal to anyone who's into racing. It looks beautiful, right? I think visuals are important for this too. Honestly, I think that some people might think that visuals are overrated, but if we're trying to get someone into this medium, we want to show them that not only does this style of animation, in my opinion, is it better than Western cartoons. It's beautifully done. You know what I mean? Like over the top. You're gonna get great action, especially action scenes, right? Like I think showing them a beautiful movie is a fantastic choice on your part.
Yeah, and it's the adrenaline rush of a race, right to the you're all the way to the end, So yeah, I would super recommend it. If you watch the first race scene and you're a big fan of it, just keep going. And if you're not, just go to one of the other recommendations here.
Yeah, and Western fans should be familiar with that storyline.
Mhm.
racing movies and stuff. So I think that's a great choice on your part. So, all right, let's get into my first recommendation here. So, since you went with the movie first, I'm going to go with mine first. Let me see if you can guess it, honestly. So, this one was huge. I think 5 years ago at this point. Um, it blew up in our theaters. Yeah, 5 years ago at this point. Maybe not exactly, but 5 years ago. It's. I don't want to give anything away. You want to throw out some
That's a
suggestions on your part?
if it's 5 years ago, that's probably when I was just started. I'll Your Name. That's my.
Done, done. Pack it up, pack the bags. You already solved it. So yeah, Your Name by Makoto Shinkai. It's a fantastic movie. Probably got to be the biggest anime movie as of recently, besides Demon Slayer Mugen Train, right?
Mhm.
So this has this. If you like body switching, like Freaky Friday or whatever, you'll love this. If you want some romance, you'll love this. I think it's a beautiful movie, right? Like we talked about visuals
Oh,
being important. It's it's a compelling story. There's a scene in like, you know, whatever you want to call it, maybe late second act, early third act, that's like, whoa, like kind of blows your mind. So, obviously I can't get into what it is, but it's like one of those wowing moments. You don't really know where the story is going to go. I think this one's probably best to go into not knowing much information, so I won't say much. But if you like romance and you want a gorgeous looking film, seriously, check out Your Name. Like, if you're not even an anime fan, like this is one that, like 9 out of 10 people like this movie, right? Like nine
mhm.
out of 10 people like this movie. 1 out of 10 people are too picky about it. Like
Mm.
everyone really likes this movie, right? Like, do
Yeah.
you have anything to add?
Yeah, like it's not the best movie of all time, but like
No.
we're just watching. You'll leave the theaters and be like, oh, that was nice. Maybe there's some things you maybe didn't like, but like overall, you're like, oh, that was a good time. Personally, me and my friend when we watched it in theaters, after we finished the first time, we went to watch it straight again right after. That's the only time I've ever really ever done that, and I was like, because because you learn so much in that third act or so that
Yeah.
going back and watching it over again, you're like,
It
oh,
Yes, it has rewatchability, and that's huge. That's huge.
yeah.
You feel satisfied. You concluded the movie, but you're like, I think I get it now, and you want to go back and rewatch it again. That's exactly how I felt after watching it the first time. I think I've maybe seen it 4 times now, and you're right. It's not the best movie. Like, we're not hitting you with the greatest, but I don't know if it'd make my top 5, but probably my top 10. I don't know, but I mean, it's up there. It's up there,
Mhm.
right? It's a beautiful film. It keeps you on your toes story wise. The story is great. I think the story is great, and so yeah, I mean, this is as mainstream as it gets, and that's kind of how we want to keep the list to appeal to the modern fan who doesn't know that they're a fan yet. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, and even if you have someone that's already seen it before, they'll probably be down to watch it again because it's a refresher and they'll see like, oh, I remember. Oh, okay, connecting all this kind of stuff as they're watching. So it's not only just for the new anime fans. If you have a friend that's into anime, you can bring them along with you. Just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, definitely one that non-anime fans can get behind. So let's get into your second choice here, Germs. What is your second recommendation for a beginner's anime?
Yeah, this recommendation is when I first started. This was the one I was recommended constantly, over and over and over again. I think it might have come 2015 or 16 or so. But once I say the name, you'll definitely know what I'm talking about. But it's the
Okay.
one and the only One Punch Man.
Ah, that's a good one, dude. That's a good one. I was considering putting it on my list. That's a good one.
Yeah, when I first started, like everyone was just mumbling about One Punch Man, One Punch Man. It's so good, top tier, the action and all that stuff. Even like I still have friends these days that have only ever seen like One Punch Man or something else, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just so good. It's just like really like a textbook example to me what a beginner anime is like. There's just constant tons of hype and really cool scenes to look at. So Saitama, obviously is the most super well written character. He's just a normal Joe, but like so many of the fight scenes and the villains, you're just like, oh, it's the total trope character, and they do something a little special with it.
Yeah, they spice it up. They subvert your expectations with it, which is really cool. And yeah, I think it's great. There's one caveat though that I would say
Yep.
with One Punch Man, and this is the reason I didn't put it on the list, is because I don't want someone who's never seen anime before to watch this beautiful, beautiful first season. It was on Netflix for the longest time. I'm sure it's still on Netflix, right? Beautiful fight scenes, character animations, all of it. It's done in the final episode, the final fight. Like seriously, one of the best fights ever. And it's in One Punch Man isn't really huge on action. I mean, it's an action show, but it's more of a comedy, honestly. So to see that caliber of fight was awesome. But there's just one caveat, man. I don't want a beginner to see this first season and be like, that was really good. I'm going to go to season 2. And then they go to season 2 and they watch it and they're like, is this like a YouTube spoof? Like, is this the right season? Because it looks nothing like the first season. The pacing is horrendous. All of the good stuff you got with Saitama, gone. Saitama is barely there. You know, he's in a tournament and they just skip lots of it. It's just so bad. It's so bad. And it's mind-boggling to me that people love the second season. But, you know, I think the first season is fantastic. And I think if you're only talking about the first season here, I think that's a great choice on your part.
Yeah, I would say, if you're watching this, watch the first season, you know, and know that the second season isn't up to the quality that we would recommend. But that first season, just watch the first season, you know, imagine that was it, you know, and then then go to our next recommendation. Maybe go to the second season after you've seen some other ones. You're like, oh, that's why they didn't recommend it. Oh, okay.
That's exactly how I feel with SAO. Treat the first season as first season, and then leave the rest behind. But it's good. It's great. Well, another point you said that I want to touch on: people that are not anime fans will be like, "Oh yeah, I've seen One Punch Man." Like it's that big of a show. It's that mainstream. So I think it's a fantastic choice on your part.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's get into my second choice here. And again, I'm gonna kind of mimic you, copy off you a little bit. This one is super mainstream. This came out in 2019. A lot of people's 2019 anime of the year. You want to guess it? I mean, we've been guessing so far. You want to guess it?
2019.
2019, I believe. Let me double check that. I'm like 1,000% sure it came out in 2019. It's huge. It's I don't want to say anymore and you'll automatically know what it is. But let me just say this: it's a show and it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
I can't really think of what really came out in 2019, so I'm kind of blowing a blank on that one.
Oh, okay, then I'll just give it to you.
Yeah.
I'll give it to you. But it's along the same lines of One Punch Man. It's Demon Slayer. And let me tell you why I think Demon Slayer is a good beginner anime, right? So let me double check the episode count here. I really should have had all this up, but I believe it's 26 or 24. It's 2 cores. It's 26. That's what I thought. So Demon Slayer is a great beginner anime. And let me tell you why. For the modern, if we want to capture that shonen audience, right? Maybe someone that watched DBZ, but like, you know, they didn't really know it was anime, or like they like the fights that they saw with DBZ on YouTube, but they don't know much about the medium. I think Demon Slayer is a perfect gateway because it's gonna give you that action fix, and it looks so beautiful, that ufotable animation. But there's a caveat with this one, and that's, you know, it's only 26 episodes for now. We have a movie coming out, and eventually we're going to get a second season, right? So pretty soon it's going to start stacking up in episodes. But for right now, the purposes of right now, if you want to get into anime, I would highly recommend Demon Slayer, especially because the movie is huge, right? Everyone's talking about the movie. So if you can watch this first season and really dig it, bam, you got a movie, and the movie is what, you know, the anime sphere, the weeb sphere is really, you know, gushing over right now. So I think it's a perfect capture of those who want action, you know, just like One Punch Man, but those who want like a shonen story. Bam, here's like one of the biggest right now, one of the highest selling manga, and it's only at 26 right now. That's going to change, but it's right now we only got a season of it. So what do you think of this choice?
Well, this is one of my later choices here, so we're just gonna jump right into mine as well.
Yeah.
It's just too good to not put on.
I knew this would happen.
Yeah.
So explain why you picked it as well.
Yeah, for me, like again, to the visuals. The visual is just outstanding from beginning to end. Right from the beginning, you're like, oh, that's nice. And then like every episode, every few episodes, you're like, oh, that was nice, nice. And then the music as well is fantastic as well. You're gonna be working out like us to that music. And then also, with that caveat of there's gonna be a lot more episodes in the future, but luckily this is, there was no filler at all, to our knowledge, and it's a trusted studio
Yeah.
that we can really rely on to give us the quality goods consistently. So hopefully, because the manga's already over, so there's a set amount of episodes, and I feel like all of them are just gonna be top quality from beginning to end of the whole franchise. So, if you get started now, I don't think anyone's got to really worry about, the movie or the second season, dipping in quality in any kind of way.
Yeah, especially if it stays in Ufotable's hands, right? Like if
Hmm.
Ufotable keeps this one and doesn't pump out any filler, which they won't, right? Like as long as they hold on to this IP, I think it'll be a great ride the entire way through. So
Hmm. And it's also a great jumping off point for like a bunch of other shonens. If you like, Demon Slayer, it's like, oh, it's a more basic kind of, standard kind of shonen, but like it's so top quality and the execution of it that you'd be like, okay, oh, the shonen stuff is kind of good. Maybe I'll go into a Naruto if I, got more time, or maybe go into like Jujutsu Kaisen or something like that. Some other of more recent shonens, like maybe like Shaman King. But just starting out from right here is just, you're gonna have a great ride from getting in, no questions asked.
yeah, I think that's another great point that you bring up. It's a very basic shonen, and that's not a knock on it, but it's a very simplistic story. I don't want to say simple characters, but it's very bare bones, but it's great in its delivery, right? So like the delivery is why we like it, but yeah, it's very basic, right? So we're not hitting someone with a Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood or something, right? Where it's a convoluted story and like it like is intriguing, which is great. You want that, but again, just
Be more simple.
very simple. We're keeping it very simple here. You know what I mean? All right, so let's get into my third personal recommendation. I'm going to go with an interesting one here, right? This one's going to be a little left field. So let's just get into it. I'm going to recommend Death Note. Now, that seems so weird for a beginner anime, right? Like, why on earth would you recommend Death Note? So let me explain why I would recommend Death Note. At 37 episodes, it's not a commitment, which is what we want. It has a very engaging story. Lots of people say the second half is not as good as the first, but the first is amazing in my opinion. Death Note's I'm biased. It's one of my all-time favorites, right? But why I'm recommending this one is it captures the mature side of anime, right? So if you're hanging out with someone and they say, this stuff looks like it's for kids, I don't know, like, isn't that for, why haven't you grown up or, gotten past this stuff yet? Show them Death Note. They will have a completely different opinion on anime. And lots of, very much like the One Punch Man effect, people that do not watch anime have seen Death Note. People that don't watch anime have seen One Punch Man. So even though it's extremely dark, it has mainstream appeal, right? And it is one of the most popular anime out there on Mal. I think it's
Number one.
It's number one, right?
Mhm.
I knew it was definitely in the top 5. So number one, most popular on Mal. Mal's not everything, right? We're trying to appeal to a more mainstream audience, people that don't even know what Mal is. And it is dark, it's gritty, it's not for everyone, but I think that this shows the mature side of anime, and I think that's what we want. And it's not that much of a commitment at 37 episodes. So a little bit of a controversial pick on my part, but what do you think of that one, Germs?
Well, it's good choice, because that was one of my first ones. That was the first. Obviously, that's the first one he recommended to me. Even back in the good old day, James was still recommending this as first one. It really gripped me from the beginning, and I just watched it like all the way through in like a day or two, and James was amazed.
Yeah, we will definitely tell that story at some point, but that's what I think. It's a bingeable show. I think people will really like that. It's an engaging story. It's dark, it's mature. It's not for everyone, but at 37 episodes, it's not much of a commitment. And people that don't watch anime have seen Death Note. That's how big Death Note is. So
Yeah, and there's tons of twists that get you in there.
And it's a classic. It's a total classic in my opinion. So if you start off with this one and you want a mature story, bam, you already have a classic under your belt, right? You already have a benchmark set for like what makes a great anime and what makes a great engaging story for this this medium of entertainment. So yeah, let's get on to your fourth pick here, Jerms.
Yeah, so mine's like almost on the opposite end of the spectrum here in terms of seriousness, but this is a weird one, and I try to show this to you when we first started, and you just haven't seen it yet, I'd imagine. But I'm throwing Konosuba here in my belt for a comedy here.
Hold on. When did you try to get me to watch Konosuba? When?
I swore like years ago when we first started watching.
Did I watch an episode of it?
I think it was an episode, and you were like, this isn't for me.
I think you're thinking of School Live, dude. I have not seen anything at Konosuba. Was it School Live you're thinking of, or you think it's Konosuba?
I think Konosuba. I remember. Oh, I'll just get into it. I think as a comedy, if you're looking to get like, you're watching more comedic kind of type. You're not looking for that more serious, deep, actiony kind of thing. You're like, I just want to have a fun little ride here. I think Konosuba is a great beginning, especially if you're more interested in comedy, and the characters are just hilarious, and there's also a movie in there, but I think as a comedy, it's just super enjoyable. If you see the first episode, you really know if you're gonna like the series, and I think that's a good thing to have for a beginner show. Is like, watch one episode. Oh, you're not into it? Okay, we got something else for you. But I think that for a comedy, I think this is a great beginning.
So let me ask this: are the seasons one core? 12 episodes, 10 to 12 ish?
Yeah, 10 to 12. I think the second one's 10 episodes. But
what's the first season? Is the first season
12?
1 or 2? Okay, 12. And then what's the third season going to be? Do we know?
There's no third season, unfortunately.
But hasn't it been announced? I thought it was announced. No. Okay. Is it in the air though? I mean, that's my question. Is it in the air that there might be a third season, or it's done?
I wish it was in the air. But maybe it'll come in like some other series that get another season. But currently, there's no plans or anything. I'd just
because that would be my only concern is if they keep continuing the story, because I assume there's more either manga or light novel content that they haven't gotten to yet. But yeah, if you certainly have a friend who doesn't know anything about anime and they want to see something comedic, kind of like One Punch Man, but less actiony, I think, Konosuba is probably a great choice, yeah.
And the waifus for days, so, if they see, like, okay, so they'll start picking some waifus, their first waifus.
Yeah, we'll be introducing them into degeneracy right off the bat, so that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I want to throw this one in here just because, I'm the spicy man, so I wanted to throw at least a little something in there. Is this another pick, or what are you throwing in here? No, that's Konosuba. That's my.
Oh, okay.
That's why I personally picked it. Just like how you picked Death Note because you like more serious. I picked Konosuba. It's a little bit more fun and waifus
on the lighthearted
side. The stuff I'm looking for.
Yeah, and that a lot of people will be looking for. Who doesn't like that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let me get into my fourth pick then. I'm going to go classic on you, and I'm going to go old on you. Actually, take a guess on this one. I bet you can guess this one. Older and classic. Come on. You know this one.
Oh, I know what it is. If this isn't it, then I don't know you. But I'm going to say Cowboy Bebop.
Done. Consider it done. Okay, so I should do a video essay on this. I should go. I should be like all these other Annie-tubers and make a video essay on why this series is brilliant. And why it's the best to ever be animated, honestly. So, Bebop, it came out in 98, long time ago, right? It's only 26 episodes. And despite it coming out in 98, it looks better than, I would say, a majority of anime today, honestly. And that's not just style. That is how well it's animated in some part. I mean, I'm not going to say it's a beautiful all the way through and a complete masterpiece, right? In terms of animation quality, because it did come out in 98. But damn, for something that came out in 98, it totally holds up today, in my opinion. And I'm sure that you might agree with that as well. I think this appeals to someone who wants adventure and action and a good cast. I mean, a fantastic cast of characters. it's also episodic, right? So if you take someone who's used to watching regular TV, right, and HBO shows, all these episodic shows, right? With Bebop, you can take a huge break if you want. You can binge it. You can say, I'm not liking this episode. I'm going to skip it. Now I don't recommend that, but again, unless there's something really big happening in that episode, it's episodic, right? So they're all individual of each other. There is an overarching plot, which makes it the masterpiece it is, but that's only sprinkled in sometimes, honestly. Like there are episodes you can totally skip and the story continues, right? Because it's a one-off. And I think that really eases someone into anime. And again, we're not hitting them with anything too hard, right? This is a little bit opposite of Death Note, right? Death Note's a very engaging story, but I feel like Death Note hooks you from the beginning, so that's why I would recommend it. This one, as long as you like the cast of characters and as long as you like the action and the adventure that they're going on, I think that this one will be. I just think it's an easy transition into anime. What do you think about this one, Germs?
Yeah, I would agree. The episodic nature really helps to easing someone in. Like, oh, you can stop at this episode once because they are a little bit more dense. So, like, I remember when I was watching, I'd watch like 8 episodes, and I'm like, ooh, and take a little break here. It's like watching like 8 like little movies, in a row.
Yeah. Yeah, it's extremely episodic, right? So like every episode has its own storyline. It usually concludes. The names are fantastic because it'll say part 2 or something, right? So you know that it's a 2-parter, right? Going into it, like if you watch an episode and it says part 1 at the beginning, and you don't have time or you're not feeling it, okay, to skip that one and the one ahead of it. If you're really digging it and you want to see it conclude, you know that the next episode's going to be the conclusion, right? Because it's a 2-parter, right? So. Yeah, man, Bebop. I think Bebop is I think it's fantastic. And another thing too is if someone is wary about subs, right? Like, I have to read text at the bottom of the screen. I'm used to watching, just listening to their voices. What's this Japanese stuff? Watch it dubbed, dude. I watch it dubbed over sub. Never watch Bebop sub. If you watch Bebop sub, I'm gonna slap you. Don't hang around me. Bebop dub it's either that or nothing. Don't watch it at all, honestly. It has arguably top 5. I'm not going to say number 1, but arguably the best dub out there. Period. And this came out in 98. There's also a movie. It's just like a one-off episode that's, an hour and a half long or however it is. That's also great if you like the show. Mm-hmm. I think Ein is funny. I think Spike Spiegel is a badass. He has that Bruce Lee vibe to him. So if you like Bruce Lee, you'll love Spike. Faye is great. The typical hot chick outlaw who kind of uses her looks to get what she wants and, likes to steal and get in trouble. And Jet is the older, war veteran who's kind of seen it all, ex-police, retired, It's the perfect story. It really is. There's going to be some episodes that are more hyped than others, right? There's some weird ones out there, but this does not feel region locked. Doesn't feel like this is not really a Japanese story. You know what I mean? If someone's wary of it being foreign to them, show them this because it takes place on multiple planets and going back and forth across the galaxy, and it's set in the future, so you'll see Earth with different cultures, but it's kind of a barren wasteland, and it's just great. I think the setting also really helps it. But yeah, if you have someone who's wary of subs, you show them Bebop because you absolutely watch Bebop dubbed, and the dub is perfect. So,
Hey, good stuff. Great recognition here.
Good stuff. So, what is your 5th and final choice for a beginner's anime, an anime to get a beginner into this medium that we love so much?
Well, I think you can easily guess this one because it's got 2 aspects from Bebop that you totally love right in here. So, one, there only is a dub for this show, and 2, the art style and everything feels more natural, a natural progression into anime. So, what do you think this is? There's only a dub for this.
Well, there's a sub, but like the dub is way better, right? Like, don't even consider the sub. And is it episodic?
There's no, but it's got that. Like the style and like the designs are like feel more.
When I say episodic, I mean like There might be a 4-parter, but it's like a one contained story, and then they continue with the story after that. No?
Hmm.
Hmm.
What do you think is one of the best dubs?
Well, I'm going to say Black Lagoon, but Black Lagoon is a little episodic. That's
Yeah.
it?
So this is not it's not episodic. It's quick and easy.
Quick and easy, huh?
Mm-hmm.
One of the best dubs out there.
Once I
My
say
mind.
you're gonna instantly want to shoot yourself in the foot there.
I'm already trying to shoot myself in the foot. What is it?
It's the one and only Afro Samurai.
Okay. The dub is good. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. Okay. I'm not pissed. Okay,
Yeah, I looked into it.
There
only is a dub. There's no.
there literally only is a dub. I thought you meant like. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, because I checked into the history of it, and yeah, there's only a dub, and like in Japanese, it was just subtitled over there.
Wow. Okay, I wouldn't have guessed this. So yeah, I love Afro Samurai. So tell the people about it, Germs. Why is this a good beginner anime?
Oh, it's fantastic because it like the visuals and the music is top tier, but like it's 5 episodes. There's a sequel kind of ish movie alongside of it.
Yep.
But just like the badassness and like the sick style of Afro Samurai. Once you see Afro Samurai, then no other show really looks like it. Unfortunately. It's the only thing that makes it a little hard to recommend because it's like, oh, after you finish Afro Samurai, there isn't something that looks exactly like it, But the absolute badass and sick music from RZA, the absolute fantastic dub from Samuel L. Jackson. It's just it's such a great time and a great watch. It's a little bit gory, This thing could be run rainbows and sunshines. Unfortunately, there's a lot of cutting people in half and all that kind of stuff, but like it doesn't really focus on that. It's more just just trying to survive, be number one, and just a really overall sick series that I would super recommend to anyone, especially since it's only 5 episodes and a movie. It's just a really fun watch, and you'd be jamming out to the music after it.
Yeah, that's a good choice. I would say if anyone has seen or liked Samurai Jack, have you seen Samurai Jack or even know what the hell it is?
Okay. I know about it, but no.
If you have a friend who liked Samurai Jack growing up, show them Afro Samurai. Like they will love it. It's like a glorified Samurai Jack with a bunch of cutting people in half, and it's bloody and gory and if you got a Samuel L. Jackson friend, come on, you got to show him Afro Samurai, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's a little on the gory side, but it's only 5 episodes, which makes it like a good sweet spot. So if you have someone who really wants like that in your face action and it has that samurai aspect to it, right? Right, like that Japanese aspect. Yeah, I would say that's a good choice on your behalf.
Yeah, and the sick music by RZA is as well.
Legendary, absolutely legendary. That's why I think Afro Samurai is a little bit of a classic, isn't it? I mean, not a lot of people talk about it, but man, like all the stars aligned for that, right? Only 5 episodes, which is good, straight to the point. Samuel L. Jackson, the dub is fantastic. The RZA, it's animated great, so good, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's get into my 5th and final recommendation for a beginner getting into anime. So this is a little bit of a cheat on my behalf. So, the rules were a show or a movie, right? But I'm going to go with a studio, and more specifically a director. You already know where I'm going with this. You want to just say it? You already know where I'm going with this. Like the most basic answer ever. Yeah, Miyazaki, right? So anything Studio Ghibli is fantastic. But specifically anything Hayao Miyazaki is the best of the Ghibli stuff. So I've seen every Hayao Miyazaki film he's directed. He's directed 11, right? So I've seen them all. The last 2 that he's done, I was personally not the biggest fan of, right? So we had The Wind Rises, which I thought was very... I would not show that to someone getting into anime, right? It's a little bit of a more mature story. And then we had Ponyo. I thought Ponyo was like garbage. I thought it was fucking trash, dude. I think Ponyo is the only bad movie that man has ever created. I genuinely hate that. But other than those two, I think his entire movie slate is fantastic. Now, the older you go, the more jarring the animation might be, I guess. But I think the sweet spot would be My Neighbor Totoro, Spirited Away, and Howl's Moving Castle. I think that those are three fantastic films to show someone, especially if they're a fan of Disney, right? Like, if you got someone who likes Disney, but they don't know much about anime or even care about anime, show them one of those three. They'll fall in love with it, right? And even, it's like a Disney film, right? Like, they call him the Disney over there in Japan. They're meant, I don't know if they're meant for all ages, right? But kids can enjoy them. Those who are older can enjoy them. They're just good, timeless stories. I'm not, of those three, I would say I'm more of a fan of Spirited Away and Totoro, but Howl's is a fantastic choice too, right? So what do you think of this, Germs? What do you think of that? I'm cheating a little bit, but I had to do this.
Yeah, especially even the normal theaters. Well, I remember back in before the theaters were all closed, but they had like a monthly, just like, oh yeah, here's a few movies from Miyazaki and all that. I'm like, oh, I'll see My Neighbor Totoro. Oh, I'll see Kiki's Delivery Service. Oh, okay. It's all just even as an adult, it's like, oh, this is it's a nice little watch. Especially if you haven't seen it before. It's like, okay, so this is what they were watching back then, and it's not like they like treat you like a child if you're watching it. It's like, oh, it just, it just
Yeah.
happens. It just, things happen, you see what goes on. So
Yeah,
I
and the
think it's
older,
ageless.
timeless, yeah, for sure. And I think the older you go, I think you'll find some hidden gems, right? Like I love Castle in the Sky, and I think Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind is like one of my favorite anime films of all time, right? And so you watch that, something like that, which came out in the 80s, and you kind of get a little bit of anime history, but alongside a fantastic story and just great just fun movies, right? Just fun, wholesome movies. I cannot vouch for the dub on all these. Some of them I watch dub, but I think most of them I probably watch sub. So that's kind of up to your discretion if you can stand the dub or not.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that they're great, wholesome movies, good family fun. So yeah, that'll be my fifth choice. Let's recount them real quick, Germs. Take it from the top. Give me your five, your list of five. I'll give them my list of five, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, so my first one was Redline, and then One Punch Man, then Konosuba, then Demon Slayer, then Afro Samurai.
Yep, and my five beginner anime was Your Name, Demon Slayer, Death Note, Cowboy Bebop, and anything Studio Ghibli, specifically Hayao Miyazaki. Three that I would personally recommend are My Neighbor Totoro, Spirited Away, or Howl's. But again, this last section I have is kind of up to your discretion. But anything Ghibli, specifically the Miyazaki stuff. So, all right. And for our weekly news, we have some Shaman King news here. It is, there's a rumor going around that Shaman King is listed at 52 episodes. What's your reaction to that?
I don't think it's a pretty good amount of episodes. I thought maybe it was a little bit longer, but 52 is nice. It's not like something crazy with like how Black Clover is going right now with like 170. So like a 52 is nice. Ooh. It's not like it's nothing too long. Good enough time to get everything all settled in.
So the original was 64. I didn't know that, but assuming that this is the Brotherhood treatment and they're cutting out all the filler, I mean, I guess it makes sense that there's less, but I feel like there was more to adapt from the manga that they did not get to in the first series. So I think that this is interesting. And so, yeah, you know how we found this out, Germs? So on their website, they have listed the Blu-ray releases, right? So they have 4 box set launches, which will be coming out, will be finished on May 25th, 2022. So, and, with the episode count, it's going to add up to 52 episodes. And, we don't know if there's going to be a continuation after that or anything, but it looks like this initial run that they're going to have is 52. Or maybe they can't cut that up seasonally, right? Like do one season per season or every other season because of the date that's coming up, May 25th, 2022. So everyone's speculating that if you line up the weeks, it's going to be a continuous 52 episode run. So just a little interesting news here now that we're getting into Shaman King.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like yeah, that is true. That is a pretty short first shonen, but maybe since it's just the way it's structured, maybe it's just maybe with the original run they had a lot of maybe filler or maybe a little bit more slower paced. But I think the pacing was this on this one. The first episode was pretty good on it, so I think maybe they're just having a faster pace and maybe not as much diddly daddling.
Yeah. Yeah, and we don't know how the pace of the series is going to be, but the first episode was pretty good, and it's one of those things. I mean, apparently the first series did not continue, had an anime only ending, which there's more of the manga to be desired, but maybe this will be a little bit faster pace and try to complete the manga. So I guess we'll have to see. So the second piece of news I have here is that Funimation is going to stream Wonder Egg Priority in June. Why is that? Because of its finale that we did not get to see this past season. So, following the anime's 12th and final episode that we got, which was you need to see it soon, Jerm, so we can talk about it. It was not anyone watching could tell that was not the actual ending of the series. And episode 8 was a recap episode. So what happened is that the production fell a little bit behind, and of course you see the comments of people bitching about it, but it's such a beautiful show. Everything, we'll talk about it when you catch up, and we'll share our thoughts on it, but I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And these animators are underpaid and overworked. Like I understand the frustration of fans, but they gave us a recap episode, they did the best they could, and we're still going to get a finale. It's just going to come in June, you know what I mean? So what are your thoughts on this? I know that you haven't finished it, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm absolutely loving the series. I just finished episode 7, so I'm most of the way through, and just every episode has been absolutely fantastic. There's like no slow points in any really point. It just and it really hits hard, like the concepts it's going through, and it just does it in a more mature way. It's not like depression, blah blah. It's like they're actually like hitting all these things, and it's just. They do it so well, and they're not treating it with any disrespect at all. It's so good, so good.
Yeah, so much to talk about on my end with the series. I really fell in love with it, but it has to stick the landing. I don't know how they're. Just so much I can talk about that I can't. But yeah, we are going to get a series finale, and I am hyped. It's coming out in June, so I know that it was supposed to end on the 12th and final episode, but. Again, production issues. We got a recap episode instead. Everything after that recap episode was fire. So, and plus with this special, I mean, they can do a longer runtime, right? Like it could be a 45-minute special. They could give the story more breathing room to really tell, finish the story that they wanted to tell. It's an anime only, right? Like it's a anime original, so they're not adapting it off of manga. So they have complete creative control over it. So I'm hyped, and look forward to June. We'll be talking about it and reviewing it. So,
definitely.
All right, and then to wrap up here, let's get into our weekly thoughts. Someone has dabbled into magic, I hear.
Yeah, just a little bit. Just I was like, because my work ended early. And I was like, oh, there's like a magic store nearby. I'm like, all my friends play Magic. Mr. James used to play Magic, and I was like. Maybe I'll just just go to the store real quick. No one's here to pressure me at all. I'm just gonna just look and talk to the store person, just see what's it about. So I went in. The guy was at the front. I was like, yeah, I'm kind of interested in this magic kind of thing. All my friends play it. He was nice. He super great recommendations. Got a little beginner set for me going. So, yeah, I'm in it. I'm in it and I'm loving it. Yeah, I'm a nerd, so and as an engineer, I just like love messing around and digitizing things. So now I have my all my cards all digitized, so I know what I have and easy to look up. So
starting your collection. And to be clear, I was a very casual Magic player, but I do have a lot of cards. But I'm happy for you, and I think I'm going to try and get into it a little bit more too. I have a huge backlog of cards, and I've played it before. It's a great game. It's the OG TCG. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then there's another one coming out. There's a Sonic one coming out, which
Yo,
looks
and
really
I'm
interesting.
definitely that has my name written all over it. I'm a huge Sonic fan. If you don't know me,
You didn't
so
create it? I thought you created it. What?
oh, I wish. Then
Oh,
I get
oh.
all the free cards. I'd probably have to pay for all these cards.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
there's rest in peace. Other than rest in peace, my wallet with two card games. I think these are just gonna be a fun time. Especially, I know there's no information about the Sonic one. I wish we could say anything about it, but there was just like, yeah, it exists. There's no information on how it plays. If it's gonna like play like Magic, it's like, oh, I tap 3 Chaos Emeralds to summon Supersonic or something. I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna work. I wouldn't. Maybe hopefully it's a little bit more different than that. But I mean, my collection of that is probably going to be a little more than the normal person.
Yeah, and so whenever the hell that comes out, stay tuned. We'll probably be talking about it. So, yeah, just some TCG stuff that we wanted to talk about here at the end of the episode, just our weekly thoughts. So, all right, Weebs, we hope you enjoyed your stay. If you did, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you're a Weeb like we are. If you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, give us a follow on there. And yeah, Weebs out. We'll see you next week with a full lineup of the weekly roundup. So, Weebs out.